You ever look up at the night sky, really look at all those stars and just wonder, are we alone? It is without a doubt one of the biggest questions we've ever dared to ask. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the different ways people have tried to find an answer, a journey that really starts with one simple, kind of haunting question. It all comes back to this, just a handful of words. Back in 1950, the legendary physicist Enrico Fermi is just having lunch with some colleagues, and out of nowhere, he asks this. And just like that, he perfectly captured this massive cosmic contradiction that has fascinated and frustrated us ever since. So the paradox, right? It's all about the numbers, and they are absolutely staggering. Think about it. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, has somewhere around 300 billion stars. A lot of those have planets. With that many chances over billions of years, life should have popped up all over the place. And some of that life should have gotten smart, built technology. So where is everybody? Why is it so quiet out there? And if you want to get even more specific, scientists now think there could be about 1 billion planets in our galaxy alone that are Earth-like. That means they're in the sweet spot, the right size, the right distance from their star for liquid water. 1 billion potential homes. A number that big makes the silence, well, it makes it pretty weird, doesn't it? So here's the journey we're about to take. We'll look at the evidence in our skies, listen for whispers of contact, confront the official denials, search for a hidden cosmic blueprint, and finally, ask what this whole search really says about us. All right, first up, evidence in the skies. This is where the story starts for most people, just looking up and seeing something that, well, it just shouldn't be there. And what's really fascinating is how these reports have changed over time. The modern era really kicks off just after World War II. In the beginning, it's all about these distant, daytime flying saucers. But then in the 60s, something shifts. The encounters get closer, they happen more often at night, and this trend just keeps going, often popping up around super sensitive places like military bases and nuclear sites. And look, this isn't just people in their backyards. Military pilots are some of the most credible witnesses out there. This quote really brings it home. Just imagine you're a pilot, you're flying in formation, and air traffic control tells you there's an extra craft with you that isn't on any flight plan. Chilling. Now check this out. This is data from just one region in Italy, but it shows something we see all over the world. There are patterns. For decades, people who don't know each other, from totally different places, keep describing the same things. Lights at night, discs, spheres, cigars, those silent triangles. That consistency is what makes you stop and think, right? It's not just random. But the real kicker? It's the way these things move. It's what completely boggles the mind. We're talking about maneuvers that just shred our understanding of physics. Instantaneous acceleration, speeds of thousands of miles an hour, making a 90-degree turn without even slowing down, and doing it all with absolutely no sound, no engine roar, no visible propulsion. That's what makes these sightings so hard to just dismiss. Okay, so that's what people are seeing. Now let's talk about whispers from space. We're moving from just watching to the much more hands-on and way more controversial world of trying to make contact. And there's a really interesting evolution here. Back in the 1950s, you had the contactees. These were folks like George Adamski, who said they were basically chosen to get messages for all of humanity, usually warnings about us blowing ourselves up. It was a very chosen one kind of model. Fast forward to today, and you have things like the CE5 initiative. This is totally different. It's about groups of people getting together, using meditation to actively try and call them in. It's a huge shift from being a passive receiver to an active participant. And for some, this whole conversation, it's not new at all. You've got researchers like George Hunt Williamson, who believed the evidence of this contact is literally carved in stone all around us. He was convinced that these massive ancient structures weren't just tombs or temples. They were cosmic lighthouses, beacons for ancient visitors. And then we have to talk about the darkest and, frankly, most terrifying part of this whole contact story, the abduction enigma. This isn't a friendly chat in the desert. We're talking about thousands of reports of people being taken against their will, sometimes right out of their beds, put through strange medical procedures, and then returned with their memories all foggy or just gone. It's a deeply disturbing and hugely controversial piece of the puzzle.
All of this, of course, brings us to the official denial. This is the real heart of the conflict. It's this huge gap between the story we've been told and the claims of a massive ongoing cover-up.
For more than 50 years, this was the official line, the bottom line. Project Blue Book, the big Air Force study, looked at thousands of cases, and their final conclusion was pretty much, nothing to see here, folks. No evidence of aliens, no threat to us, case closed, move along.
But then you have the unofficial story. And this is where it gets really explosive. We're talking about high-level military and intelligence insiders coming forward with claims that UFOs have literally shut down our nuclear missiles, that Roswell was real and a craft was recovered, that we have game-changing energy technology from this stuff that's been kept secret, and that a super-secret group, maybe once called Majestic 12, controls everything and isn't afraid to silence people to keep it that way.
So let's zoom out a bit. What if this isn't just about strange lights in the sky today? What if we're talking about something bigger, a kind of cosmic blueprint woven into our history and maybe even our future? Take a look at a symbol like the winged sun. You find it in ancient Mesopotamia, you find it in Egypt, and researchers like Williamson found it carved into mountains in Italy. So, is that just a crazy coincidence? Or is it a clue, like they argue, to some forgotten global culture from our deep past that had a little otherworldly guidance? And this is where things get really philosophical. This quote comes from a famous contact case. The message here isn't about technology or spaceships. It's about us, about our social evolution. It's this really provocative idea that challenges everything about our current societies and asks us to imagine a completely different human future. And for some people, this perspective changes how they see, well, everything, even their most sacred stories. The idea is, what if events like an angel appearing to Mary or Jesus transfiguring in a cloud of light, what if those weren't just divine miracles? What if they were encounters with incredibly advanced beings, using technology that would look like magic to us? So after all of it, the sightings, the contact claims, the denials and cover-ups, we end up here, on our final path, the search for ourselves. We have to turn the lens around and ask, what does this whole obsessive quest for them really tell us about us? Here's a pretty humbling thought, and this one comes from mainstream science. Maybe we're looking for the wrong thing entirely. Maybe squishy biological life like us is just a tiny, temporary phase. The real, long-term intelligence out there might be inorganic, post-human AI, vast consciousnesses that don't need planets or bodies. Maybe they're everywhere, and we're just too primitive to even notice. And at the end of the day, maybe that's the whole point. This quote just nails it. It doesn't matter if you're a true believer or a hardcore skeptic. The phenomenon grabs you because it's the ultimate mystery. It forces us to just sit with the unknown. And that's what keeps us coming back for more. So we're left with this one last question to chew on. After all the evidence and all the arguments, is this whole search really about finding aliens? Or is it really about finding ourselves and discovering the absolute limits of what we think we know and what we can even begin to comprehend?